Being wedded to being a good girl, a good daughter, a good whatever is keeping us in lack, scarcity, poverty mentality, and survival mode, regardless of how much money we have in the bank account. You know that toxic jobs, toxic families, and toxic countries are exhausting and burning out Black women. But that is not the real culprit keeping Black women broke and burnt out. Today, we're talking about the real reason that Black women stay burnt out, exhausted, overworked, overwhelmed, overgiving, and emotionally and energetically depleted, which keeps us, of course, from living our actual and very best lives. And it's not what you think it is. Hello, my name is Elle. Welcome. I'm also known as the Empress of Ease. So let me tell it to you straight, my friend. The biggest culprit keeping Black women, especially high achieving and ambitious Black women, keeping us exhausted, burnt out, overworked, overwhelmed, and overgiving is that we have not given ourselves permission to stop. And the reason why we haven't given ourselves permission to do something differently is because we are so rewarded for being the martyr, for being the sacrificial lamb, for being the one who is selfless. We are so rewarded, esteemed, celebrated. Often, so much of our identity is attached to what we do for others. We have seen our elders and our ancestors get celebrated and rewarded for being selfless, for putting other people first, for overgiving, for forgiving and not receiving, for taking care of everybody and never asking for anything in return. Most of us grew up in the church where we learned it is better to give than to receive. The Lord loveth a cheerful giver. Right. I grew up in the AME church, right? Every Sunday I was in Sunday school, church service. I was on the usher board. I was in the young people's department my entire childhood and upbringing. I was very active. Okay. Sometimes I was even in the adult Bible study as a child, right? I was very active in the church. And I often heard it was better to give than receive. But it was often said for women, right? It was often said we will get our rewards in heaven to women. I was also raised by a Capricorn single mother who is a workaholic, loves to do, is a very busy person out and about in the streets. And so I also saw her modeling and being rewarded for that financially, professionally, socially. People celebrated and pedestalized her for being someone who gave a lot. And I would see her out and about, busy, doing her thing in the world, being very successful financially, being very successful professionally, being very successful socially and well connected, and then coming home and collapsing on her bed because she had been giving so much in the world. I've been doing work as a coach and a consultant for over 20 years, working specifically with high achieving, ambitious women. I literally have the world's best clients because they are so smart and so creative and so interesting and so visionary and so powerful within themselves. They are amazing. I always have literally the world's best clients. They are truly powerful, interesting, tender, sensitive, spiritual powerhouses who I love working with. When women begin working with me, they come when they're burnt out, when they're exhausted, when they're overworked, overwhelmed, overgiving, depleted, feel bone tired, and have hit essentially rock bottom, but are continuing to produce, continuing to work, continuing to show up for their family, for their community, for their friends, for their job, for everyone, and they realize that they are left exhausted, burnt out, depleted, nothing left in the tank for themselves. And they know that something is awry. They're not sure where. They're often not sure how they got there because they've been overgiving, overdoing, and burning out for so long. And it's easy to track the toxic job, the toxic boss. It's easy to track the toxic family systems where most Black women, especially if you're an oldest daughter, has been raised and not even recognized often for being the one who holds it all together, the one who takes care of everyone else first. It's being recognized as the community, as the leader, as the fighter, as the one who saves the day. It's being recognized as the one who has it all together when the world seems like it's falling apart. We get all of these external accolades and acknowledgments and celebrations. And at the end of the day, when my clients come to me, those actually don't matter to them because they are so depleted, they are so exhausted, they are so burnt out. They know that something has arrived, but they don't know how to get back on track with themselves so that they can actually enjoy their life the way they thought it would be when they were getting the PhD and getting the degrees and getting the corporate job and working so hard in their career. They don't know where the disconnect is. And the disconnect is very simple, but it's very challenging for most people who have been living very differently than this. The disconnect is giving yourself permission to stop, to say no, to center yourself in your own life and risk being called selfish, risk being seen as someone who isn't going along to get along, risk leaving the fold of celebration and reward and acknowledgement that you've received for putting everyone else first. It feels dangerous and scary because so much of a sense of stability comes from all of these other people appreciating you for being selfless, for being a martyr, for taking care of them first, for putting their needs first. So much of your sense of personhood comes from valuing other people first in hopes that one day, someday, they will turn around and value you in the same way. But what I know, having done this work for over 20 years with hundreds of women, is that that's not how it works. It's not until we give ourselves permission to put ourselves first without apology or compromise and start shifting and shaping our world around us that the true joy comes. Because the joy comes from our own internal alignment with our external lives, not from other people validating or appreciating or celebrating us. It comes with us holding the center of our own worthiness, of our own power, of our own truth, of our own values, and letting everybody else figure it out or not. That takes an internal fortitude that we've often outsourced to external accolades. And when we start to turn that sense of validation, turn that sense of self-ownership, that sense of self-leadership within, and we start trusting that what we want is worthy and valuable, that we do not have to put other people first. We do not have to sacrifice ourselves to be rewarded. We do not have to wait until retirement or the kids grow up or until we have a certain amount of money saved or until in order to start living the lives where we are the center of our own lives. And that does take a certain courage. Because once we start doing that little by little by little by little, the courage starts building confidence that we're on the right track. The courage starts mirroring back to us how good it feels when we say yes to ourselves first, when we put ourselves first in our own lives. The courage is required to do that. Otherwise, we are waiting for a sign from our job, from our partner, from our family, from our country, from our city, from our culture, that it's time. That it's time to put ourselves first, that it's time to say yes to ourselves, that it's time. And I'm going to tell you right now, here is the shortcut, baby boo. That time never comes. That external permission slip never comes until you're too tired to even enjoy it, until you're burnt out, laid out, exhausted, broke down. Your body is in a state of such disrepair because you've been pushing it for so hard for so long that you have to do everything to even just begin physically, emotionally, and energetically recovering so that you can start enjoying your life. This is not the way to live if you actually want to live your best life, because you have been in a sustained survival mode for probably decades at this point. This has nothing to do with how much money you have in your bank account. I have had clients come to me with hundreds of thousands of dollars in their bank account, liquid. not to mention their additional assets. And we're terrified to take a vacation. We're terrified to take a sabbatical. We're terrified to take their foot off of the gas of their own lives. So that sense of survival mode has nothing to do with the amount of money coming in or the amount of money that you have in your assets. This is about an internal permission slip so that you can then remember that you have the agency, you have the power to create the life of your dreams, period. And that if you need to make more money, you will make more money, whether that's working with me one-on-one in Success Reset, which is my 3-month mentorship program, where I walk you step by step, very gently, very slowly, very intentionally, lovingly, and deliberately through recovering from your relationship with success so that you can start reclaiming your life without losing your drive. I'm a very ambitious person. I'm a very driven person. I always have been. I dream very big and I manifest my dreams and create my dreams day by day, step by step. But you know what I'm not? Burnout. That is not a prerequisite in order to create success. So many of us have been taught that it's coupled together, that if you want success, you have to self-sacrifice, you have to suffer. You have to struggle. So many of us have been comfortable saying for years the struggle is real. And what I want to remind you of right now, my love, is that the struggle is not real. I have merch. Check out the links in below that says the struggle is not real. The struggle is real if you make it real, but it doesn't have to be real. The struggle does not have to be your experience. But what that requires is a rewiring of your brain, a rewiring of your relationship to success, to achievement, to ambition, to accomplishment. It requires an uncoupling that you have to struggle, that you have to sacrifice, that you have to suffer, that it is okay for you to be the martyr because it's not. Generally, when I start working with people in Success Reset, in the beginning, and this isn't with all of my clients because they all come in different places and stages of their process, I give homework after every coaching call. I give homework. Generally, in the beginning, a lot of my homework isn't about doing. It's about not doing. It's about stopping doing. It's about taking things off of the plate. It's about saying no. It's about having boundaries. Generally, for the first few weeks, we're removing the overcommitment. We're removing the yes, because we have to start unlearning this good girl ideology. Being wedded to being a good girl, a good daughter, a good whatever is keeping us in lack, scarcity, poverty mentality, and survival mode, regardless of how much money we have in the bank account. That is what's keeping us stuck and small because it is attached to a very narrow idea of who we are and how we can survive and how we can be successful. And more often than not, even though women, particularly Black women, can look really good on paper and really good socially and really good publicly and be very well rewarded, if they are not anchored in internal self-ownership, self-sovereignty, self-agency, and self-leadership that is completely detached from external validation, external acceptance, external understanding or celebration, then that is always going to be a codependent and enmeshed relationship. And it has been for most of our lives, right? If you are an ambitious, high-achieving woman and you have come up through academic programs and after-school programs and competitions where you were celebrated and recognized for being exceptional, there often is this internal messaging that you are not enough as you are. You have to continue proving. You have to continue striving. You have to continue showing to people that you are worthy of these external accolades and external celebrations and external awards. Also, because we live in a society that is dominated by misogynoir, white supremacy, and patriarchy, there is this constant narrative that we are not enough, that we were not born good enough, and that we have to prove that we are excellent, which is why I say I'm a Black excellence defector. Because yes, I come from multi-generational Black excellence. My great-grandfather had 2 undergraduate degrees and 2 master's degrees. One was from Cornell University. My great-grandmother also had an undergraduate and a master's degrees. My grandparents had undergraduate and graduate degrees, as do my parents. I grew up in the AME church, which was stock full of Black excellence professionals. I went to Spelman College, which is also a Black excellence status marker. I have friends and colleagues who are representations of what we celebrate and recognize as Black excellence. And I always have. Me, myself personally, even with all of that quote unquote pedigree, I am an intentional defector because I see it as an endless ladder to nowhere if it's not rooted in who you actually are and how you actually value yourself. Because as I always say, we were born excellent and nothing has changed. There is nothing to prove. There is nothing that we have to show that we are excellent. We were born excellent. You were born excellent, and nothing has changed. And so the biggest thing keeping Black women in these cycles of overgiving, overdoing, exhaustion, and burnout is not giving ourselves permission to stop, to turn within, to find that sense of validation, that sense of worthiness, that sense of truth within ourselves. That is where the power is, because that power cannot be taken away no matter what. And I know they say if you get a degree, that can't be taken away. And that's true. But those are also given and valued and validated within hierarchical systems that are always going to be an endless ladder to nowhere. There's always more striving. There's always more doing. There's always more proving, unless you decide to remove yourself from that system and find that validation within. You can still get the degrees. You can still have the accolades. You can still get the career. But when you detach your sense of worthiness and your sense of power from the external validation, that's when you have real freedom, because that's when you see your real choices. I love working with my clients. And what the gift is for me, the treasure is for me, is that in our work together, they create this opening in our relationship, which is the permission slip for their own transformational process. Because they know that despite all of their accolades and their awards and all the things, that something is missing, which has led them to feeling like they are wasting their lives. Now, of course, they're not wasting their lives, but it feels like there's so much more I could be doing. They often come in, I've been doing this for so long, but I really feel like this is my calling. This is my joy. This is my dream. This is what I want to do with my life. And sometimes they're even hesitant to say it. They're scared to say it because they're like, this sounds crazy. Who am I to want to do this? Who am I to want to be an author or travel the world or start doing spiritual retreats? Who am I to start talking about financial trauma? Who am I to start being whisperer in the C-suite? Who am I to start a dance troupe? Often the things that they want to do are things that as children they were told were good hobbies, that they were told they could do as a plan B, that they could told that they could do on the side, right? But that fire within them has never died. And so the work that we do together in Success Reset is helping them get one, after we clear out all the debris, the gunk and the junk, and start the rewiring process of giving them actual permission to live the lives that they are here to live, that is centered in their own joy, not external accomplishments or achievements, but in their own joy. That's when everything starts to change. But it's a process, because they have decades of not being the center of their own lives. They have decades of putting everyone else first. So we're not going to just magic abracadabra, wave a magic wand and everything gets quote unquote fixed, even though I don't think anything's technically broken. It's a process of seeing, accepting, relearning, and loving yourself so that you can start truly enjoying the depth and breadth of joy that's available in your life. Because the reality is you do not have to suffer fools and you do not have to suffer systems. You do not have to live under a system that doesn't allow you to fully express all of who you are and enjoy your fullness of your life. You do not have to wait for retirement. You do not have to wait for the weekend. You do not have to wait for happy hour. You do not have to wait until the kids graduate. You do not have to wait until you have a certain amount of money in the bank account. You do not have to wait until your golden years. You do not have to wait until you transition. You can enjoy your life right here and right now. And often that requires someone outside of your life, outside of your systems, outside of your structures and routines and relationships, who can help guide and navigate you through and back to yourself and your dreams. Because there's that fear that if you say yes, if you start centering yourself, if you do what you want to do, that your whole world will fall apart and collapse. And so part of my gift, part of my magic, part of my unique medicine is helping you do it in such a tender and thoughtful and deliberate and intentional way that you don't have to burn down your life. Even though you may come to me feeling like you want to. And if you do, we can, but in an intentional and deliberate way so that you're not just standing there holding the ashes of your life, but that you can actually use our work to transition into creating the life that you want to live. And we build the bridge. Now that is powerful. You build the bridge without sacrificing yourself, your life, your sovereignty, your joy, your money, your peace of mind, your ease. Month one in Success Reset is all about releasing the old, clearing out what is no longer yours to carry, which again is a very gentle and intentional process. Sometimes people come to me and I call it triage, where we have to be really tender, really sensitive, because you may be in a state of emotional or energetic disarray. Your life may feel like it's on fire. So we still move through the process, but very gently and very intentionally. Month two is all about redefining fulfillment on your own terms so that we can get clear about what actually matters to you and then drop the rest. Again, slowly, intentionally, deliberately, even if we start planning out for what that looks like so that you can get out of jobs, relationships, dynamics, countries, cities, roles that no longer serve you and that are actually exhausting and depleting you. And then month three is all about living in alignment. And we start creating really intentional, bespoke systems that protect your energy and fit your life unique and specific to you. I currently live in Bangkok, Thailand. Every aspect of my life, including my businesses, House of Ease and Paid to Exist, are completely 100% deliberately bespoke to me. I don't run my business according to anyone else's business plan. I don't make money or create my life in Bangkok according to anyone else's lifestyle. I talk about in this video right here about how I even chose this specific condo following my own bespoke process. Everything in my life is bespoke to me because it's my life. I am the center of my life, and I want you to be the center of yours. So if you're interested, if that sounds like you, if this feels resonant with you and you would like more freedom, more sweetness, more softness, more ease in your life on your own terms, that you are invited to my 3-month mentorship, the Success Reset Program. Link in the description below. In the meantime, check out this video that I made in response to someone saying that I was entitled for believing that I can create a life of joy and success on my own terms. I think you will truly enjoy it. I will see you there. Bye for now.